So now it's time for the first keynote address, right? Dr. Rohini Srivathsa, my apologies, who's the CTO of Microsoft India, okay? And she's going to speak on the topic of democratizing AI. Now, let me tell you, when I started, when I moved to India, of course I was born here, so I'm Indian by my passport and heart, but I had no idea what technology was, okay? So you seeing me here today is completely the doing of EZest, okay, where I worked in the first company. And then obviously when I collaborated with Suchita and she was like, Mariam, can you be a partner, community partner? I was like, of course I can. Because now I had some knowledge of what technology was and what data science was. So, we all start somewhere, we take baby steps. So I'm sure that all of you, many of you actually, are new to this field. And you're going to have to take baby steps to get there. But trust me, if someone like me can do it, I'm sure you can as well. So, always feel inspired. Find that, the company or whatever, the notch that you need to push you through things that are coming in the future. And always think about the future. Whoever knew that a writer, a journalist, could become a content writer? I didn't even know. I thought we always wrote content anyways, right? So yes, I'm a content writer. And then I was like, OK, I'm hired to write about technology. But, somebody who has no knowledge. And there's a joke going around that my manager probably hired me because I'm a Shah Rukh fan just as him. But, and I wrote my first blog on blockchain without knowing what it was. But I did a good job. So, there's always hope. So, are you ready now?
I think so.
OK, great. Let's hear it out for Dr. Rohini Srivathsa.
Good morning. First of all, I must congratulate the organizers for just a superbly energizing start to the event. And I want to particularly thank the 40% of men who are here. Because it's very important. It's very important for us to not look at communities from a gender-biased basis. We have to look at together because at the end of the day, we as a country have to make sure that we are keeping ourselves ahead in this technology, making sure that we are investing in it, and that requires all of us. So I'm very, very thankful for the men who have come. Just a little bit of my personal story, so it kind of comes alive as to what really energizes me about this topic. So kind of go back 30 years, and you can do the math, and figure out my age. About 30 years back is when I was in graduate school working on neural networks. Okay, so I was writing my own backpropagation algorithm, writing the gradient descent, and actually calculation of the gradients also, because there's no algorithm that actually does the differentiation calculation. And so you are responsible for the fact that the gradient explodes, right? You don't have somebody in the background doing that for you, and which is what I was doing. And I was, this was way back, like I said, at UT Austin. And I was just amazed with the math. I just loved the math of it, the elegance of the theory, and what you could do, right? But the data was not there. The data was not there. I would leave my recurrent neural network to train, and it would basically break overnight, and I'll come back the next morning, and it was just, basically. So in a way, it was a wake-up call, and I left it at that point, and then I moved on to doing other things. I would say in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even 10 years, this whole area has really exploded. And we all know the driving factors for it. The whole compute power, the Moore's law, which by the way is what I did my PhD on, so I went into semiconductor world. But Moore's law in terms of computation power, the explosion of data that we all are creating every single minute, and algorithms which have been created and have been able to work on this data. And that is why this whole area is exploding, which we all know about. I think the important part of it is that, yes, it's exploding, and it's become kind of a buzzword in many ways. But what does it mean? What does it mean for the common person? What does it mean for our country? What does it mean for society? And that's where I want to talk about today in terms of democratizing. By that I mean, is it in the hands of every person to use and leverage as a tool, as a power. So let's just start with that. Am I supposed to be pointing here? Is this working? Just use here? Okay, fine. No, it's fine. I'll do it.
Isn't coming, it's here. It's the defining technology of our time. But it's human ingenuity that makes it so powerful. Jane started losing her vision when she was 12.
California Street.
She uses Seeing AI,
I
Crept down the stairs and out the door.
which enables her to read and navigate her world.
You want to pause it and do it? Increased? Okay, fine. All right, fine.
Microsoft AI is helping farmers adapt to climate change,
We can use technology to help feed the world without wrecking the planet.
enabling wildlife conservation,
The ability to use AI really democratizes science. WildMe uses images from any source to help study endangered species.
and creating
Oh, okay. All right, maybe let's just start. It's fine. Let's.
artificial intelligence isn't coming, it's here. It's the defining technology of our time. But it's human ingenuity that makes it so powerful. Jane started losing her vision when she was 12.
California Street.
She uses Seeing AI,
I crept down the stairs.
Crept down the stairs and out the door.
which enables her to read and navigate her world. Microsoft AI is helping farmers adapt to climate change,
We can use technology to help feed the world without wrecking the planet.
enabling wildlife conservation,
The ability to use AI really democratizes science. WildMe uses images from any source to help study endangered species.
and creating new ways for people with hearing loss to communicate.
I want the exact same information that my hearing friends have.
It's more than just imitating intelligence or sounding like a human. Microsoft AI is changing every industry, from healthcare
And now you can see these finite details, the relationship with many structures.
to engineering and telecommunications.
We are using artificial intelligence to change the way we are relating to customers.
AI lets us put people first.
The Microsoft tools really enabled us to breathe digital life into an iconic brand persona.
The product that we make is not a thing in a box. Microsoft AI empowers others to create experiences and potential. This is just the beginning.
Artificial intelligence, it's just opened up this whole world.
The future we invent is a choice we make.
Given where AI is and given the moment in history we are in, and I say that quite consciously, because it is really changing the nature of relationship between man and machine. And it will continue to do that. And I think it is important for us to realize that, which is why I like this quote. This is again not working. All right, will you press it once? Okay. Yeah. Not working. Okay. So this particular quote by Satya Nadella is very important, and it is, you will hear similar quotes by Sundar Pichai and many other leaders in this space, because clearly people are realizing that there is a very fundamental change in the way we will relate to technology going forward. There have been many technology waves. We know the Gartner hype cycle. We know how technologies become mature, and therefore become part of our everyday lives. But artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing the way in which, like I said, we think about technology, we think about our space in the world. And that is what makes me personally very engaged, very excited about this, and in particular about some spaces which I will come to in a bit. The vision, because of this fundamental nature of artificial intelligence, the vision is that we use this technology, we think of this technology as a tool for empowerment. We think of it as a tool for empowerment for developers. We are, after all, a technology company. For developers, because they are the ones who take interesting ideas, interesting technologies, and create new things. For organizations, and when I say organizations, I'm talking beyond enterprises and the commercial world. I'm talking about governments, non-profit organizations, communities. And finally, we think about the society at large. How is society going to use this technology to solve some of the problems that are facing humanity in various myriad ways? And we'll talk a little bit about that. So just going back to where we are. Some of you would know, but let me just put down here that over the last few years, the turning point in this space of AI has happened, wherein in certain areas of vision, speech, language, understanding, computers have reached human parity. What that means is that in certain narrow areas, in certain specific tasks, computers are able to do just as well as a human being, if not better. That changes the equation. When you start to think about your workflows or how you deal with technology, if the computer can do just as well as a human being, it starts to shift what you can expect, the earlier point I made about relationship with computers. Microsoft has, as an organization, and some of us are from research here, has been investing in research for a long time, almost 25, 30 years. And we have ourselves pioneered some of these breakthroughs. We look at our role in this space to take these breakthroughs out, take these breakthroughs and make them available to everybody and democratize them. Therefore, our view to be able to say that this doesn't require a small and medium business, a startup, to have a whole army of data scientists. AI today doesn't require that. It doesn't require you to have that kind of deep technical ability, because a lot of capabilities, a lot of applications have been API'd, have been created into snackable pieces, if you will, building blocks that you can start to use. And that is what we are doing with the Microsoft AI platform. What we are trying to do is, can you turn it on? Is it working now? Okay, good, thank you. All right. So the platform and I will not go too much deep into this, I don't plan to get technical today. The idea of the platform is the following, that there are, of course, as many of you would know, the compute and the data platform, the infrastructure layer is obviously there from the cloud perspective. But what we have done is taken our research, taken our algorithms, and put them into blocks or services that you can use to create your cognitive capabilities literally in a day. So we, for example, run workshops of creating a bot in a day. Now, you can create a bot by scraping a website. That's not actually a big deal. And you can create FAQs, and for namesake, a bot can be created. But a bot that is able to be intelligent, understand requests from a semantic perspective, think about intents, and knows how to retrieve knowledge, that is an intelligent bot. That is what we're talking about. We're not talking about scraping the web. So that intelligent bot is what you can create in a day. And that is what we are offering as a service. What that means is that any business is now having the access to be able to offer this kind of interface, this kind of ability to interact with your customers, with your partners, using a conversational interface. And similarly, there are many other similar APIs. So what that does is, it is able to create those cognitive services are now available for you to create real-world applications. And that is what we mean by saying democratizing AI for the developer community. Because the developer community has a certain set of skills. And of course, I'm not claiming that we go and create all kinds of custom models. There is a limit to which these services will do, and then you have to go and train your models further. But there is a lot that comes out of the box that you're able to do using these services. So whether it's in the world of vision or in the world of speech, knowledge, language, and search, many of these areas wherein the intelligence is now coming packaged for you to be able to create new experiences. The second element of empowerment or democratizing for empowerment that I'll touch upon is organizations. And I earlier mentioned organizations are not just large enterprises. They could be nonprofits, they could be education institutes, government, all of those. The way we see organizations getting empowered is along three dimensions. Along dimensions of every application, along every business process, and every employee. Now, the question becomes that, yes, what do we really mean by that? Today, if you use many of your applications, and some of you are very young, so I'm sure I don't know if you remember, I guess mouse you will remember, right? Most of you will remember the mouse, I'm guessing. But if you ask today's children, right, they don't know what to do with a mouse. You know, you give them a computer, they actually don't know what to do with the mouse. You give them a keyboard, they don't know what to do with the keyboard. They start touching the screen, right? That's the world they are growing in. They don't know what to do with these interfaces anymore. And very soon, you will not expect to touch, you'll expect to speak, right? You'll expect to speak, you'll expect the computer to understand where you are, what your context is, where you've been, what you are. It's not just I'm asking for some keywords. What I'm asking for, suppose you say, I want to go from here to Trivandrum, but pass through Bangalore, or actually not touch Cochin. Well, if it's just a keyword search, it will actually give you things which are touching Cochin, whereas that's not what you meant. So there are many such examples wherein applications will have to start, you will expect, it will no longer be frills. You will expect applications to be intelligent. That will be table stakes. And so for us, while we are telling others, look, we are giving you these tools to make sure that your applications can be intelligent, we are ourselves looking at our own products out there and getting them intelligent. So if any of you use the Office 365 version of things, there's a lot of intelligence that is starting to build into it. As an example, many of you who use Excel, how many of you use Excel? All right, yeah. So if you're using Excel, I'm sure you've spent days and days creating data, cleaning data, then trying to see in different pivots and cuts and try to see where an insight coming from. Go back tomorrow and look for an icon on the top right called Ideas. What that will do is, it will look at your entire data set and give you a set of potential data cuts or views of that data and insights that is showing you. Now imagine that you are about to go and meet your boss with some new data set, and you want to be able to look very cool and come up with some insights. And then you do some cuts and you go and say, you got it all wrong. Let's start again. 2 days of your work in terms of cleaning up their data, trying to see some interesting thing that you thought was a nugget of wisdom have gone down the drain. Now imagine you are able to just say, give me some ideas and let me see. Let me be able to work with my stakeholders that these are the potential insights this data is throwing out. That changes. That makes your life a little bit more exciting if you ask me. I definitely don't want to go back to the days I've spent cleaning up Excel and trying to create interesting pivots. So we are bringing, another example. Probably many of you will remember that famous viral that went out, right? There was one, I think it was I think United Nations or one particular ambassador was speaking and his kid came walking into the room. Do you remember any of that? Remember? Yeah, into the room and it went viral. It was kind of cute in many ways, right? But we said, you know what? I don't think we want people to face that problem, right? So now in Teams, as an example, you can go in and you can say, blur the background. So it will use face recognition and it will just track you and the background is blurred. So anything happens in your room or if you are in a crowded area, none of that is visible to the person across. And you're moving around so the face recognition is tracking you. So there's a lot of intelligence that we are building in, but what we are basically, the larger point here is that it's going to be expected. That is what our kids are already showing us, and that is what the new generations will want. Now let's go down to the organizations. Clearly, many of us who work in industry, who work with either large clients or small clients, are seeing intelligence, analytics, predictive work happening in various pockets. We know that. Marketing, many of you get those offers, which is clearly there's some marketing, some analytics happening in the background to see that you are a target customer and this should be positioned to you. Often it gets completely wrong, but fine, it's kind of getting there. So marketing and sales is picking up data-based, data-related intelligence in a big way. But there are areas in, for example, human resources, and human resources, wherein data-related, data-enabled, intelligence-enabled decision-making is going to become more and more important. Those of us who are in the hiring positions have no idea how much time we spend trying to hire one good candidate from 100 resumes because all the keywords are there, but substance is not there. Right? So we just know the frustration. In fact, I talk to my peers, many of who are data and analytics global heads in the industry, and this topic just gets everybody so depressed. It's not even funny. So I think the ability to hire, the ability to intelligently help your top talent find their career path in the organization, ability to help people, and there are some very cool things happening in this space. Ability to understand people, what your skills are beyond keywords. There are some interesting techniques happening through gamification that is looking at your ability, your engagement with the game, and is figuring out, the AI is figuring out what your risk-taking ability is, for example. What is your collaboration ability, for example. So many of these soft skills, which are very hard to judge even in an interview, right? Many of these things are happening. So this area is going to get transformed. Similarly, go down every other area. Customer service is already, getting transformed with basic calls going to chatbots. And knowledge availability in front of the agent in a way that is consumable. It's just too much happening. So every function, every business process will have intelligence in it. It will be required, otherwise you are not competitive. It's not a choice. Now let's go down the industry dimension. Industry dimension, of course, we have a very broad range of industries here, and you can take any industry. And what I like to think about here is, right, oftentimes I talk to clients and I'm thinking, go to an industry and you start thinking use cases, which is fine. I mean, to start in any area, use cases are the first way to envision how this technology will change your business. But I think it's more important to step back. It's more important to step back and really think, what is it that my business is about? What is it that I'm really about to my customer? And not just do these delta things with use cases that changes a business process and makes it a little bit more intelligent, adds a chatbot to it and all that, right? That's very, how shall I say, greedy solution, if you will, in a local optima kind of solution, right? You have to be able to step back and say, really, what is my business about? And therefore, how am I going to change the way in which I deliver value to my customers? That is what forward-thinking organizations should be doing. And that changes industries. That's what I mean by saying how organizations are redefining industries. And I won't go into each one of them, healthcare, go into manufacturing. How am I doing on time? 10, okay. All right. Okay, so just let me touch on this one. So we talked about industry, every employee. So we went down the Excel example as an example, right? You tell somebody today, if I go to an organization and I tell them, you know, how many of our customers, for example, bought this particular product in the last 2 months? I'm just throwing an example, right? People may have that data, people may have that insight, but what does it mean to another part of the business? It's kind of not known. What the larger point I'm making is that most organizations today don't know what they know, which means they have knowledge, understanding data in silos, but they don't have the knowledge in a way that anybody can come in and say, this is my organizational knowledge that I can tap into. And people are losing months and months of productivity in just trying to figure out where does this information, data, knowledge exist? And what is the form in it? Can I consume it? That is what I mean by saying, how do you get your employees knowledge at their fingertips, insights at their fingertips that are consumable, that make your life interesting? You want to get all that insight to be able to move the next step. If it all takes all the time and effort to get the first step going, then how are you going to move forward? So I think that ability is going to really change in the way every employee is starting to use intelligence. So in terms of multiple organizations that are changing, using AI to transform, it's across industry sectors. I'll just play one particular spotlight.
80% of the world's population has no access to reliable, affordable healthcare.
We believe that machine learning and artificial intelligence will make healthcare affordable and accessible to the world's population.
We've set up an entire analytics vertical in-house on Microsoft SQL and Power BI to derive optimum business and clinical value. We started regularly analyzing multiple data points around lab tests in one of our units, and within a month, we saw a 60% increase in efficiency across the processes, and close to 95% of the lab tests were turned around in less than 2 hours.
We can accurately forecast under or overstaffing in real time. We can even predict patient volumes.
Our AI team has developed a product which can differentiate between the normal and abnormal X-rays.
My goal is to make sure that everyone on this planet has access to high-tech healthcare with dignity.
So the last dimension I'll go into is on how we envision transforming society, helping society address some of the biggest problems that are facing our planet, our species, if I may put it that way. But before I get there, I spoke about my earlier journey in AI and what made me very excited to be part of this domain. The technical, the thrill of doing something cool with technology. I think over my journey, the transformative power of AI has been inspiring. But what inspires or drives me today is the need to engage on making sure that AI is going in a direction that addresses the ethics of this technology. By that I mean that when machines can do what they can do, the question one has to ask is that it's fine for a machine that if there is an ability to do it, but should it? If a machine can do, should it be doing that? And the applications, and for this audience, it's very important to hear this and therefore engage in this space. Because where the technology is going, very soon what we read, what we hear, the information we are exposed to, the decisions made for us, whether it is the loan we get or whether we get hired, is largely getting done by some algorithm in the background, which is using some data. And it is very, very important for us, and leaders in particular, to ask the question that are we thinking about this technology with the right ethical principles in mind? So a lot of my time today goes in asking these questions. Is the technology we are developing, deploying, working with partners, is it thinking about issues around security and privacy, fairness, accountability, inclusivity, transparency, and reliability? Because it is now going to a space where there is no turning back. There is no option of saying, I will not use AI. It's not going to happen. And in particular, if you look at the world, US and China are taking the lead in this space. The fight is going to be about Europe, which is driving the thinking on data privacy and governance. We have to form our own destiny. And therefore, it is very important that as this technology gets adopted and in the country, that we engage on these important topics, because very soon it will become part of our lives and will need to be, and there's no turning back. Finally, the three areas that we think about society, and Microsoft has, and I'm very proud to say that I'm relatively new to Microsoft, but I'm very proud to say the level of investment, more than $100 million over the next 5 years has been committed to these programs to work on using AI for accessibility. Satya Nadella is very invested in it personally. Those who have read Hit Refresh would know that he has a personal interest in this space. Areas around ecological challenges, earth, water, agriculture, and humanitarian issues. So there is a lot of work that we are doing in this space, and that I am actually amazed how much of the bandwidth of this organization goes into thinking about these issues. I've never seen that, and I've been around. I'll just play one video, and then we'll wrap it.
Hunger devastates people, their dreams and their future.
Many people worldwide suffer from hunger. Right now, at this moment, above 800 million people, 15,000 children die every day. By 2030, we don't want a single person in this world to suffer from hunger. To solve this problem, we use new digital technologies, and we trust in artificial intelligence.
Malnutrition has a significant impact on the economic development of a country, on the education of the children, and on their future income. Malnutrition, food insecurity, and economic instability are very often a vicious circle.
Only if we know exactly which people are starving, we can help them effectively. But it's often not obvious that someone is suffering from hunger. At this moment, we try to reliably identify malnourished children under 5 years. Help for these children is particularly important because cognitive and physical development in this period is crucial.
Until recently, children have been measured manually by hand, but that's unpleasant for them. The data is inaccurate, and it takes a long time the data reaches us to intervene and to help.
So we started the pilot project in India. The Childbirth Monitor app enables us to scan children in 3 dimensions. An infrared sensor provides us with exact measured values of the body, and we can derive the nutritional status. The process only takes 1 minute, and thanks to Microsoft, the data is instantly available to us in the cloud from anywhere.
Data becomes more and more important. And if we want to solve future problems, we have to master the data. And artificial intelligence is the only solution to do that.
The Child Growth Monitor shows that new technologies enable reliable data collection in developing economies and even higher quality data analysis thanks to Microsoft AI.
Our innovative project, the Child Growth Monitor, can generate relevant efficiency gains of hundreds of millions of euro per year in India alone. This money can be reinvested on saving children's lives.
It's not only hunger. Our children will face many challenges, such as climate change or ocean plastic pollution. To give them the chance to solve their future problems, we have to fight hunger now.
We need committed people who join us in the fight against hunger. It's not them out there in Africa, in Asia who suffer. It's not them, the NGOs, who can really fulfill and achieve that goal. It's basically a societal movement we need in order to get to zero hunger by 2030. And we have 10 years to go, so it's worthwhile starting.
So that's our vision. And many of you who are new to data science, what I would invite you is, today you are spoiled for choice if you want to learn AI. Actually, you are spoiled for choice. And one place for you to go is this, which I'm putting on the screen. All the courses, everything is free. So you can get started right away. We recently also launched a business school, because what we are finding is that when we talk to the senior CXO level people there, they are listening to buzzwords and they are listening to hype, and they really need to be thinking about this area in a concerted way, in a measured way. And therefore, we've created an AI business school which touches on not technology, but it touches on strategy, on culture, on the whole idea of responsibility and ethics, because the C-suite will have to think about those topics very, very importantly. And the last one is a technology 101. This is also for free. It's a course developed in conjunction with INSEAD, and it's out there for your consumption. So your imagination, your time, your commitment is the only limitation. I'll stop with this. I'm told I can take 3 questions. Then, of course, I'm here for any further discussion. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I have 2 concerns. The first concern is about the...
I'll leave this one. Yeah.
Check. Hello. Good morning, ma'am. My name is Somnath. I've got 2 concerns. The first is the DPA Act. So what is the Indian government doing to protect the DPA, the data what you have? Because I think in India, the data is compromised some way or the other. As you said, Europe is doing something for the data privacy. What is Indian government doing for that? And the second thing is about the jobs. In future, I think so if the AI comes in picture, the jobs are going to be like diminishing. A lot of jobs will be going. So how are we helping those people to upgrade their skills for that?
Okay, do you have the rest of the day?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. 2 big topics, right? 2 very big topics. On both of them, there are no complete answers. There are no answers which are completely right or wrong. I'll respond with my thoughts. On the first one, there is a data protection bill that is in front of the parliament that has already been submitted. And the industry's views have been put together, whether it's through NASSCOM and some of the other industry bodies. They have been pulled together, and it's It's not a simple yes-no question. It's a very layered question. And therefore, it is important for our lawmakers, our government, to think about the problem from a holistic perspective. India has been, or at least the last wave has been, as being the IT services hub of the world. That has some legacy, that's some advantages. How do we maintain them? Because we cannot go completely and say, you know what, we are going to close everything and become like China. We are not China. So I think it's a very layered issue, and that has been put forward. Right now, that is going to be debated. Now with the elections coming, it will take some time. So that's where that is. The second one on employment. Look, again, that is an area that comes up, and it's an important area. It is something we all should be concerned about, worried about, thinking about. But we often get very, I would say, caught into the temporal today. We get caught into what is today. We kind of forget the history. It's important to think about that this is not the first time a technology revolution has happened. Whether it is industrial revolution, whether it is the computer revolution, digital revolution, all of those have come. And largely agrarian societies, if you think about the industrial, largely agrarian societies have moved to become more industrial societies. It hasn't happened overnight. It has come through with pains, but it has happened. So if we take a slightly broader view. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for all of you, and including myself? Is that people who are getting into their professions today, they will not have one career. They will have multiple careers. They will need to reinvent themselves again and again. They will not be, I go to school, take a degree, work, and then I work all my life. It will not happen that way. It will have to be continuous learning. It will have to be continuous reinventing. And that is what will be absolutely not just a good to have, but a need to have, absolute must have, to be able to be employed in the future. So it's not an easy one. There will be short-term pain, but that is why we all need to be ready to make sure that we are skilling ourselves. With that,
thank you.
A very good morning, ma'am. My question is regarding we are democratizing the word AI into the domain of healthcare, right? I've roamed across India into the villages where there are no resources, even for health or food and things. There are no basic necessities, right? So how do you set up an infrastructure for such a technology? I know it's going to take time and efforts, a lot of resources too, but what kind of infrastructure needs that we are going to have, and what kind of predictions that we're predicting? Okay, in this span of years, we are assuming that India will be a place where it'll have a good healthcare. Because we are worst at healthcare, and we all know it.
Yeah, you're asking a panacea question, and I will not have an answer. What I will say is that there are few areas where healthcare is starting to get transformed, and that journey will have to continue. And there are challenges. One of them you mentioned is about accessibility, right? The ratio of qualified, especially in the specialists, to the masses is one of the lowest in the world, in India, right? And the question then becomes is that how will AI solve that? And I could put one use case, for example, right? When a person has cancer, somebody in the village, by the time they get the symptoms that tells the person they may have cancer, and the person has come to a city, one of the major cities, for any kind of diagnosis, it's already a very late stage. Okay. Now, what if technology can offer some of those image recognition technologies which are able to do at least the first level of screening, false positives, even if there are some false positives in that, right? So we are able to get that first level of screening done at the local healthcare. That changes the dynamics. That changes the ability, the reach of a technology in a huge way. And some of that is happening, whether it is in cancer or other diseases which have got long gestation periods, and it's important to diagnose them early. Some of that is happening. It's not foolproof, but it is happening. The other areas, for example, and technology is doing that, is if you think about augmented reality, The ability to have, you are in an operating room and you are in a complex case, having a highly trained specialist from anywhere in the world to literally be there virtually and help you guide, that kind of technology is happening. So what that does is that I may be the world's cardiologist who does, let's say, pediatric heart transplant or something very, very specialized. I can't be everywhere. But is there ways to make sure that that is more the reach increase? So there are things happening. But it's not, to say when it will be all good is that's, for one is a very relative statement, two is there is a long way to go.
Hello, ma'am.
Last question?
Yeah. You.
Sorry, I'm looking this side. I don't know if anybody there side had a question.
Towards your right. To the back.
Okay, so I'll just take one question and then later on we can take, sorry.
Yeah.
Were you there earlier? Okay, sorry, I didn't. Go ahead.
Thanks for the insightful presentation. So my question is that, as you rightly mentioned, that we are spoiled about the choices. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, everyone kind of coming with their own version of the AI. So where do you see where this will be heading towards? And what would be, like in maybe five years down the line, where it will reach and what kind of problems or what kind of technology evaluations, considering the competitions, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I have to say you'll have to do Microsoft AI, right? Because no, more seriously, right? I think the question is perhaps makes you step back a little bit and not just say, okay, this is Google AI, Microsoft AI, whatever other AI. That's not the point. The point is that what is your use case and what is your business problem? And where is your data? And what is the technology you're using today? And therefore, what should you be using so that you are scaling? What is your company strategy going forward? And therefore, which technology will help you get there from your overall technology landscape? So it's not it's not, I would not say, okay, 99% face accuracy, 20%, I mean, whatever. I will not do that. It's completely misleading. I would actually ask the question as to say, what is it I'm trying to achieve using AI today? Where do I see my data evolve going forward? What is my company strategy, as I mentioned, from technology stack perspective, and therefore, what should I start investing in? I would take a slightly broader view. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rohini Srivathsa. That was amazing, okay? I didn't realize there was so much that was being done out there in the world. And I actually agree with her when she said that we're not gonna have one job that we're gonna look at. You know, we have to have this diverse, like we gotta be an octopus, right? Like have all these different kind of skills that we're into and different professions we're into, or different skill sets that we need to have. You know, as a writer, for instance, you're not just gonna write, you know, for a newspaper or for your blog. You're gonna have to write technically, you're gonna have to write things relating to so many, you know, different arenas. You probably have to be a voiceover artist, you probably have to write scripts, whatever it is. You can't just be a developer anymore. Okay, going forward, if you want to improve your employability, you probably have to get, you know, into different domains as well. So thank you so much. That was actually something that I advocate for, so I'm glad that you seconded that. Lovely. Thank you so much.